Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Jasmine. Today I've got a mixed media canvas for Infinity Engravings. I am on their design team and I have a lot of fun and a good challenge every so often doing these canvases with their different chipboard pieces. All of the things, all the chipboard you see on the canvas right now is from Infinity Engravings, the letters and the two die cuts, the butterfly and the fairy. So I'm using an 8x10 pre-gessoed canvas. I get these from Hobby Lobby in the fine art section. Fast, quick, and easy to go. You don't need to gesso these because they're pre-gessoed. So I'm going in with some Delusions paints. And the first color I've got on there's a little bit of white linen, which is just a white acrylic paint. And I went there with white first to kind of thin down the yellow a little bit. I wanted to make it a little more pastel-y. So I added a little bit of white to it. This yellow is called Lemon Zest. And again, these are Delusions acrylic paints. These are kind of a medium consistency. They're not as thin as, say, Distress paint if you're used to working with those, but they're a little thinner than the Dina Wakley thick body acrylic paints. They're a lot of fun, really versatile. And as you can see, I have a lot of colors, so I like to use them a lot. They're really easily blendable too. The next color I've got there is Fresh Lime. This is a really bright springy green. So when you're working with these paints you want to blend the colors, just use your brush to go over where they meet. So you can see me kind of doing just a first little swatch there to add the green down and blend with the yellow so that I get a transition color between the two. And this just smooths out the blend as you go down the canvas. If you're someone who really likes big blocks of color, then just don't blend as much. And just a touch of white to my brush just to kind of help with the blending. You can also use clear gesso for blending, and that's just a clear medium, transparent rather, that adds open time to your paint. So it actually just basically keeps it wet longer. I'm trying to get the camera to focus on the cut grass. And this is more of a grass green, obviously. So I'm blending those between the Fresh Lime and the grass green. And you want to make sure you're getting the edges because these are wrapped canvases, so meaning the canvas goes around the frame to the back. So you want to make sure you're getting your edges so that you don't have your art on the front and then just white on the back, or sides rather. Next color I've got is Calypso Teal. And because I'm blending these colors between each one, I don't clean my brush between each one. I'm just very careful about not contaminating the pot. But if you're worried about that, then I have a cup of water there, as you can see on camera. Just swish it around in the water and clean it off. And these are opaque paints as well. They are not transparent. I did end up cleaning my brush because I was getting a little too, wasn't getting a real true teal on my canvas, so I did end up cleaning my brush. See that bottom there is more of a teal color, a better representation of that color. And making sure I get my edges. And the final color I'm going to go in with is London Blue. It does take me a few strokes to kind of blend between the teal and the blue, because that's probably the biggest jump between tones in each color is between the teal and the London blue. Now these paints don't stay wet for very long. I let this sit overnight, but they usually take maybe an hour to dry. But if it feels cool to the touch, it's not quite dry. So here's one of my die cuts, and I've just started using the white linen, which is just a white acrylic paint, on it. When you're doing smaller die cuts like these, the chipboard will absorb the paint fairly quickly. So sometimes you're going to want to use 2 or 3 coats, especially if you want to keep it white. If you want to do a color on top, then just a base coat of a white acrylic paint is fine. And that'll dry within 10 or 15 minutes because you're not using very much paint at all. And the chipboard is fairly absorptive. And the reason you want to use a base coat on these is so that when you're going in with a different color, like I'm going with yellow on this one, you don't see the tan or natural tone of the chipboard come through the yellow. It's to help you get a truer tone in whatever paint or medium you're putting on top of it. So here I've got a little bit of clear gesso, and I'm using that as just a clear coat over the top because I want to thin down my yellow paint a little bit. And I've also got some of that white linen to make it a little more pastel. And I wanted the white to kind of give me like a little bit of a swirly effect. I didn't want her to be just one flat color. And I always work on my nonstick craft mat, and that just makes it super easy for cleanup. As you can see, I'm just wiping this up with a little bit of water and some paper towel. And then here's my butterfly that I've also done a coat of white on. And I'm going to use 2 colors of the Delusions paint. I'm going to use London Blue in the middle, moving outwards like 2/3. And I'm using a coat of the clear gesso first, just to give me a little bit more open time on my paint, because I want to blend the 2 colors together. So I've got London Blue first on the body and most of the wing. And then that Calypso teal on the outer edge of the wing and the tip. And I wanted to blend these 2 colors together, so I wanted like a 3rd tone in there in between the 2. So I did overpaint the blue a little bit. And basically you're just blending these colors until you get the look you want. It's really that simple. So I set that aside to dry, and now I'm going to work on my letters. And I've got some Nouveau embellishment paste, and this is called Pure Platinum. And these little mini pots, as far as I know, are not available for sale individually. I got these in a card kit. But the big pots you can get most places. I'll leave some links down in the description box to get these. They're really pretty, really easy to work with. As you can see, I'm using my fingers. You can use a blending tool or a paintbrush. You can add water to it and make a spritz out of it. Really cool stuff. And this dries really quickly too. And it's not oil-based, so it doesn't get sticky. But it does give you a really pretty shine. So I've got all of my pieces ready to go back on the canvas. I've spritzed my butterfly a couple times with Imagine Crafts Shimmer Spritz. And then for my fairy, I've taken this Nouveau Glimmer paste, which is a clear paste with just chock ton full of glitters, iridescent glitter. Really pretty. And then just let that dry. I just put it on the wings and then let it dry. And I'm using some matte medium. The one I'm using is by Ranger, but I also like the one by Prima. And this stuff is a glue, but it dries clear. So you don't have to worry about anything squishing out from behind your pieces and showing up. It's matte, so it doesn't reflect light. And that's why I prefer it. It's also very strong. So I do put a little bit thicker on the back of my chipboard pieces just to make sure they don't go anywhere. And then I'll use a ruler to line up my words to make sure that they're all straight. And I've got a little puddle of my matte medium to the side off camera just to dip those in. And I like to dip my pieces and then tap off. If there's a lot of extra, I'll just tap it off on the side. And then stick it down to my piece. It doesn't take too long to dry. Probably 15 to 20 minutes and most of these pieces will be dry and stuck down. And for my bigger letters, I just use the same paint and blended two colors together on the top of them. Lost a little bit of footage doing that, apologize. Those footage gremlins are mean. So I'm just going to apply some matte medium to the back of my butterfly, and I'll stick that down. When you're doing mixed media canvases, play around with your placement. I like to have a few things off the edge. I feel like it gives the canvas a little more movement and a little more interest and make it more dynamic. I did apply a little bit of that Nouveau Glimmer Paste to the flower that the fairy is holding as well. Get a little bit sparkle. So I'm going to go ahead and add some embellishments. These are buttons, flatback pearls, and sequins, and seed beads. And these are all from different mixes in the 28 Lilac Lane line. And you can get button mixes, or she's got little embellishment kits that have a variety of things in them. Any kind of different color combination you could think of. I have too many of them. But I just lay out my pieces around my words on this one and then just kind of see what I like. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Basically what looks good to you, go ahead, put it down, and then I will do it piece by piece and just kind of dip it in the matte medium and stick it down and work my way around the canvas until I get it the way I want it to look. And seed beads can be a little bit tricky to adhere. So what I've started doing is just taking a palette knife and adding some matte medium around where I want them, and then kind of pinching up some in between my fingers and dropping them down, and then pushing them into place with tweezers. There's really not a super efficient way to make seed beads behave. So I just do my best. And I apologize for this being upside down, but it was the easiest way for me to get the seed beads where I wanted them to be. So it's not upside down too long. And try not to be intimidated when you're thinking about mixed media, thinking about doing canvases like this. These are an excellent way to experiment. A great way for you to kind of get your feet wet with color and materials, mediums, paints, stains, sprays, ink, stamps, you name it, you can kind of go to town with it. And these are a great way to learn. So here's your encouragement to go try something new and see what you think. These are a lot of fun. And I do these, not a lot, but whenever I have something new to play with, I'll do a mixed media canvas just because it makes me feel good and makes me, I like to get messy, I like to get inky, I like to get painty. So this is what I do, and it's fun, and I love how these turn out. They don't always come out how I imagine them, but sometimes how they turn out's better. So I've got some stills at the end so you kind of see up close a little more what I've done with it. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button, and we will catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.